the hairs on my body started standing on end.
Silent. Nothing there.
I fought to get back into my body.
You are going to be of vital importance of helping us convince the masses.
Type 471.
Type 471.
Bridge to the other world.
Bridge to the other world.
Welcome to Type 471. I'm Sam Kitchen. Today I am speaking with Miranda, an Australian woman who has had a number of Yowie encounters over the years. And, just like with North American Sasquatch encounters, there is, once again, the woo factor, the woo aspect of her experiences. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Miranda today. So, Miranda, g'day. How you going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I never get to speak Aussie, so thank you for indulging me for a moment.
No worries.
All right. So, if we can just start at the beginning of your experiences, what paint a picture for us? Like, tell me the first experience you had and the general location and all that stuff.
Yeah, for me, the first experience I had was out at a place. It's a really, really big camping ground. I'm from Queensland, Australia, and I was only 11 years old, and it was quite deep bush. And I saw something. Well, at first, look, I thought it was like a monkey or a gorilla, and it was underneath a log that had fallen on the creek. But the noise was bizarre. It was almost like it had like a chainsaw noise coming from whatever it was doing, and it was crouched down. And it wasn't big either. This wasn't big. And basically, being 11 years old, I crapped my pants as such and ran.
Wow, that's pretty intense. So, what did this being look like?
Oh, look, black. I'm going with black fur, and not huge. You know, it wasn't a massive one, and I couldn't actually see its face. It was basically back to me, face down. It was doing something in the creek underneath the log. And also, this is really, really, really deep bush where we were camping in, like not an area where there was many people at all.
Right. Hmm. Interesting. What? Yeah, I know this was really deep bush. Was this mountainous terrain?
Yes, very, very deep mountains, beautiful crystal clear creeks. It's an absolutely amazing spot, but thousands upon thousands of acres of forestry.
Okay. What time of year was this?
Winter.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but you know, the older I've got, I was only 11 then, the more research I did over the years, it's basically known as a hotspot for like generations. Many, many stories for that actual area.
Yeah, I bet. That sounds like a familiar pattern. Yeah, well, it's the same thing with Sasquatches and Yowies. I mean, they have these areas where people tend to encounter them more often. All right. So what would come next? What is your next experience?
Next experience is I was 15 on the Sunshine Coast. That's where we live, Sunshine Coast, Queensland. And it's always near forestry. You don't really realise that till you think about it. But a friend and mine, we were doubling on a push bike, trying to get to a friend's house, typical teenagers, 9 o'clock at night. And the most bizarre thing is we saw this thing first in the sky, and it looked like a huge star, but it was almost too big to be a star. And it's like it was following us. And we were both silent because we were scared. We were in this forest. We thought we'll just keep walking as fast as we could and get out of there, get on the bike. So we got on this push bike together, and we're coming about a 2 kilometre forestry road, pitch black dark. And then beside us in the bush, all we could hear was something moving as fast as us on the bike, you know, really large in stature, ground moving, trees crashing, just absolutely terrified. And of course, you know, we made it home in one piece and just sat there going, oh my God. But that was my second, what the F was that?
Right. So we'll call it a UFO that you saw in the sky, and then you believe that there were also Yowies present in the bush?
Yeah, yeah, yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. And, and my best friend, we're still friends now. I'm 38. We still relive the story because, believe it or not, my mum has gone and bought property near where this happened. And every time we go there, we both look at each other and remember that night.
Oh, well, that's cool that your mom bought property there.
I haven't even told her that story, but we want to relive it. Like, we want to go out and walk there in the night together, but we haven't. Kids always make things too busy for us.
Oh, certainly, yeah. I can hear the little ones in the background. I'm sure you're very, very busy.
Yeah, but that was the second. And I mean, and then it gets to, back on the Sunshine Coast again at my own home where I live. My husband, back when we were 19, he saw something step out in front of the car one night. He described it at after midnight. Bigger than him, he's 6'2", and he said it was tall and it was hairy, and it took a step out on the road and then it quickly reversed back in the bush, and it took him days to speak about it. He didn't even believe in anything like that, and he was white as a ghost when he walked in the front door.
I see. Yeah. I can certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, he was embarrassed and also shocked. Yeah, but I mean, I can just keep giving you more and more.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll take it. I'll take more and more.
The next one at our actual house, we're on about 40 acres here, and we're riverfront on the Sunshine Coast. And we have old Queenslanders, that's what the houses are called here, and they're high up. They used to build them high so the floods can come under them, kind of on stumps. And we heard this massive, massive stepping out behind our house, like heavy, you can feel the ground move. And then we heard something run 2 feet over the top of our roof. And then it's almost like it leaped onto, we've got a shed about 100 meters away, onto the shed roof. And then we all woke up, we ran outside, and we have a cat enclosure for the rescue cats. And all the cats were holding onto the wire with their backs up, and they were all urinating. They were that frightened.
Ooh, wow. When you say
Yeah.
when you say rescue cats, are these domestic cats, just regular
Yeah,
regular house
yes,
cats?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, domestic, yeah. And I've never ever seen cats all at the same time that terrified.
Right. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then I got another one at home. I being acreage, my father was staying out the back, and we walked out the back to see where he was camping, and just a similar thing, something in the bush beside us, like as you make footsteps, it makes footsteps with you, but it's heavy and you get scared, and you come back and ask other family members, was it them? And everyone's looking at you saying, no, definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like they're beside you, like trying to let you know they're there, but of course, being humans, it just frightens us.
Right, of course. Well, sometimes, from my understanding, based on American Sasquatch encounters, this is either a way of encouraging you to leave an area that they kind of consider off limits to you,
Yeah.
or I mean, there is always the possibility that sometimes they want to interact. Which do you think was
Yeah.
happening at that time?
Oh, look, these days I'm starting to think interact, because now for the last 4 years, I have a special camping spot, which I won't reveal the location because it's a really special place that we go, but it's on the Sunshine Coast, and it's also very, very, very deep in the forest.
Mhm.
And, we're a bit alternative, our family. We go out there. I always like everything to be left as it is in a camp spot. I've raised my children, you don't cut down trees, you don't leave rubbish. I've actually raised all 4 children with it. This is a Yowie's territory, and it's their home. So
Right.
that's just how we roll. But when we were out there for the first few times, that's when we heard the digital noises that I told you about.
Yes, I've been wanting to ask you about that.
Yeah. Now, I can't explain these noises. I wish we could have recorded it, but it's a type of noise that if you're fast asleep at about 2 a.m., we sat directly straight upright in our campsite, all the hairs raised on our neck and arms, and it sounded like a digital firework across Star Wars. And it was right beside us. It was bang, right beside us.
Wow.
And, I was scared. My husband was scared. He's a big man, and he just went, "What the F is that?"
Right.
And we're in the middle of absolute nowhere. Like, nobody could even find us. And then the sound started to surround us. And that's when I was really terrified. I was scared. And then we heard a tree come crashing down, a massive, massive tree drop to the ground. And then after that, I actually grabbed my two smallest kids and put them in our four-wheel drive. I thought, bugger this, I'm going home. And then beside me to the left, I could hear something moving heavy right beside me walking, and so did my husband. And I didn't want to turn around because I was too scared. I'm just like, look, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black dark. I'm terrified. But after that, everything went completely silent and absolutely nothing. Nothing. That was it.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to try to narrow in on exactly what this digital sound may have sounded like. Now, I know you said you can't describe it, but I want to try to maybe give some examples. Like when you say digital, what kind of electronic device would you compare it to?
Oh, fireworks, big fireworks, and noise as they go up, and like that pew
Oh, okay.
noise echoing. Yeah, it was bizarre. It was
Interesting.
bizarre. Yeah, it was high pitched and almost happy, but it scared the pants off you.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's. I wish I had heard that. That sounds actually really cool. I mean, yeah. I'm sure I would have been terrified if I was there experiencing that with you. But
Yeah. But that's not once on that noise. We heard that noise again recently in a
Really?
very, very similar area. And I mean, this place is beautiful. Like where it is in Australia, to me, it's about as close as you get to some of your nice places in USA. It's all forest. It's all crystal clear creeks and rocks, and it's amazing. It's just untouched land. We heard the same noise, 3 of us recently in a creek. It was nearly night time, and we heard it continually, and we just couldn't believe we heard it again.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. So this sound, I mean, the way you describe it, it sounds like something digital and fireworks. But do you get the impression that it's coming from an organic, living, physical being or something else?
Well, look, the first thing my husband said was alien, straight alien, like there's an alien outside.
Right.
That's what he said. But I mean, if you've ever looked into, Yowie, supposedly, they're definitely not from here anyway.
Yeah, you've expressed some thoughts about that. Let's hear your view on that.
Well, I don't think they're from here, but I mean, like where I am, there's a lot of people that have these groups, and they call themselves Yowie hunters. I mean, they share these pictures of Yowies holding people and eating them, and they're out there to try and find one and bring it back. I'm a bit different because my dad always had his views on them that they're here almost as keepers of the earth, and I don't believe that they're dangerous unless you're going in and actually looking for them or trying to take their family members. That's what I think, and most people don't even believe in them around here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. But I have Indigenous family, and they've always believed in them.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there are traditions about them.
Yeah, they're they have no ifs or buts that they exist.
Right.
But they reckon that it depends on your vibe and your frequency, that they're not going to show themselves to people that are negative and hostile and have bad intentions.
That is the same thing that we encounter here in the States.
Yeah.
It seems very much related to one's energy and one's intention.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Definitely. And as I said, when we go out there, we're very peaceful. My husband, he has actually Native American blood, so his family was actually from America.
Oh, okay.
And his yeah, he's got a pretty cool and calm vibe, and we've taught the children to respect the earth. And I would like to think that they understand that's how we feel when we come and stay in their area. But as I said, there's always something. We hear them moving rocks when we're sleeping out there at night. Even the tree knocking is another thing that's quite big. The knock on trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so many amazing noises. And then my father, and all this forestry is connected that I talk about through Queensland. All these great forests, they all can be like aligned and connected to
Mm-hmm.
where all these experiences happen. And he said in the 1990s that he used to go out very, very deep in the forestry, and he always felt a presence and feeling watched. And he's quite a big man. And one day he leant down to a creek to get some water, and he found two massive like footprint impressions beside him, and then he got out of there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, after we spoke the first time, I took a look at your general area on Google Earth, and
Yeah, it's got some heavy stuff.
oh yeah, like because I do that all the time with Sasquatch and Bigfoot related stuff here in the States. I look at
Yeah.
different areas on Google Earth. So I looked at your area, and gosh, it immediately hit me just how heavy the tree cover is. Like it is such thick.
Huge.
Oh yeah.
It's huge and it's beautiful. Like we started going there because on the Sunshine Coast, when it's summer, it gets hot. It gets horribly hot. And going out there is just so beautiful and cool. It's like a different climate. It's lovely. And we research the area that we go out and hang out at, and it's basically called the Yowie Triangle by people that go out there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so there's many stories, but a lot of them aren't like mine. A lot of them are of them throwing rocks and logs and stuff at people. We've never had that. We've never had negative.
Right. Good. Yeah. And again, that seems to have to do with the energy that a person brings to the area. I've heard of the same sort of things. Like some people will they'll be met with aggression and hostility, and other people will only have very pleasant, friendly encounters. So I think that has a lot to
Yeah.
do with the individual and what they bring to the experience.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we long to go out there. Like we've got lots of pictures of footprints and impressions, and I'll help you. Sorry, I've got a child here asking me to get him on a horse at the same time.
Oh yeah, I can hear it.
But yeah, if I had it my way, I'd give away living in society and go out there and live in the bush with them.
Oh
A lot
yeah.
nicer.
I can certainly appreciate that. And I am very much also on board with your no-kill, peaceful approach to them. That's my view as well. I think they need to be
Yeah.
treated with respect, and it's not the sort of I really dislike the view that people have who want to go out and kill one just to, dissect it and prove something.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is you get these. It's particularly men around here in Queensland, and yeah, groups of them. Let's go out, let's hunt. They've asked me for years where to go and that, and I don't give them any information because just simply not interested in that.
Good for you. So in the timeline of your experiences then, what comes next, Miranda?
Well, basically that's been like the last that's really been happening to us is just every time we go out there, we experience the noises, as I said, the movement in the creek, the trees. But we have only once when we've been back here asleep, and this was a really, really bizarre thing. We heard the digital noise back here at our actual home, and that kind of blew me away because it's not forestry here. It's 40 acres,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the forestry that we're in before. So that was almost like a sign from them. So I believe that they can just travel anywhere. That's what I believe anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a deep, deep mystery, and you've got some insight into it. We don't have it all figured out yet, but I'm glad that you have some insight into what's going on. And this digital noise, this is fascinating. I've got to learn more about this.
Yeah, I know. It's bizarre, and I'd like to be able to record it. I'd like to actually, but it's almost like it happens when I'm not ready always.
You mentioned that you have some pictures. Are these pictures that you would be willing to share with me?
Yeah, I'd have to find them. These were just of the footprints.
I would love to see that. And would you mind if I shared it with my listeners?
No, that's fine, not a problem.
Great, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, but they're not uncommon around here. You'd be surprised how many people in Australia have experiences. There's a lot.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, just looking at the terrain at the heavily wooded mountainous areas, I mean, I'm not surprised at all.
Whereabouts are you in America?
I am near Mount Shasta in
Oh,
California.
that's right. You told me that. Yeah, well, that looks absolutely amazing. I'm jealous.
Oh yeah, it is such a beautiful area. It's a focal area for a lot of Sasquatch activity, and so that's part of the reason I moved here. Actually, I lost everything in a fire in a different
That's
county.
terrible.
Oh yeah, and then after that, I chose to move to Siskiyou County in California because of the Sasquatch activity that occurs here and the phenomena that occur here in a general sense, in a general paranormal sense.
Have you had many experiences with them?
I have, yeah. I had my first Sasquatch encounter when I was 17, and
Wow.
it was a very up close and personal kind of encounter. I was like no more than 15 feet away from this individual, and
Wow.
yeah, it was interesting. It was something, and he couldn't care less that I was there. He didn't like it was almost like he was waiting for me to come and stand there by him. And he didn't even leave.
Yeah.
He didn't leave until after I left. So it was kind of an atypical sort of experience.
Have you been to Australia?
I have not. I really hope I can.
You'll have to come over and I'll take you right to our spot.
Oh, you got a deal.
Yeah, definitely. You'd love it. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, I would absolutely love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's a man that I actually spoke to. You probably would have heard. He wrote a book about the Sasquatch. I think it's a Sasquatch message to humanity. It's just so bizarre that I went to look at his pictures and I ended up speaking to him about my experiences, and he had been to the exact forestry come from America that I was staying in. Now that was bizarre. I was amazed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I went, wow. I'm definitely, we're definitely experiencing something each time.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, you mean so that kind of confirmed your experiences further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've had a lot of bizarre things in my life. So we see a lot of things in the sky, especially here, all the time.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. What else is going on?
We've seen over the last 20 years, it just be absolutely quiet as at night, and then the whole sky, like the whole background, the paddock will light up green. Just absolutely like amazing. And
Mhm.
when it first happened, when we were only young, my husband and I, we got straight in the car and left.
Mhm.
Terrified. That's what we used to do. We used to just run.
I can understand.
Yeah, we're not so bothered by it now.
So did you say that the whole light kind of lit up green, or the whole sky kind of lit
Yeah,
up
the
green?
whole sky. Yeah, from
Mhm.
pitch black to green.
That
Yeah, we've seen it happen here, even on the highway while we've been driving cars, and we can't even understand how did every other vehicle not see that.
that's interesting that you say that because I experienced a similar thing in Southern California once, where the whole sky just lit
Yeah,
up green one time. I don't know what that's about.
yeah. No, like I've had that lots and lots of UFO activity, heaps and heaps. Seen so many that it's not even funny. But a lot of the time, what I'm seeing, if I'm there, just say with a friend or something, they miss it. And
Mhm.
that's what I don't understand. That's bizarre to me.
Right.
I'm like, how did you not see that? Yeah, so these are the type of things that happen all the time. And I dream about them too. So
You dream about these sightings in the sky?
I dream more about meeting let's just say people that aren't from Earth.
Mhm.
Yeah, for many years, many years.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Many years. And I've started to just, look forward to it now, if that makes sense.
It does make
It's like
sense.
messages. Yeah, it's like messages to me. I think that the Earth is in a pretty serious crisis state, and I believe they've been trying to message and get through to humanity for a long time, and it hasn't always worked.
Right. Yeah. I am right there with you on that. So, do
Yeah.
these dreams that you have, do they have like a common theme? What are some commonalities between all these dreams?
Oh, I've had some scary ones, particularly with the sky being red, which frightened me for a long time. Lots of floods from the east coast of Australia. Horrific floods. Like I'm talking where the sea line rises that much, there's ice and destroys everything. I had about 2 years of that. And then after that, meeting blue beings. I don't know who they are, but lots of them. And
Mhm.
even Yowie dreams. When I first used to go out camping, before I heard noises, I'd just dream about them.
Hmm. Really?
Yeah.
You mean
Yes.
do you mean to say that you had dreams about these sounds before you had ever heard them?
No, just about them, just about the Yowies being there and
Ah,
circling our camp. Yeah.
gotcha. And this happened
I know.
this happened before this had ever
Yes.
happened in your waking
Yeah.
life. Oh,
Yeah, it happened all while I was asleep. It was all dreams.
right.
And then the noises started after that.
Wow. Well, that in itself says something right there, doesn't it?
Yeah, see, I just thought it was nothing. I just thought I have weird dreams. I've always had very vivid dreams.
Uh-huh.
My whole life, I was a sleepwalker as a kid, a sleep talker, everything. It's almost like another world for me when I go to sleep. And a lot of people are like, what?
Mhm. Right.
Yeah, I wake up tired. It's like I go places when I sleep.
Yes. That I can appreciate what you mean by that. Like you're not resting, you're doing
No,
something.
I know it's ridiculous, and I can wake up tired all the time. And like the last ones I had, of extraterrestrials were of the cat people, the Lyrian race, I think, or Lyran they call it,
Hmm.
and that was pretty amazing. A pretty special dream.
Can we hear about that dream?
Yeah, this is so bizarre, but sitting almost in a medieval setting, these dreams come in. And if you know much about, well, I think they call them Lyran, the cat people. They were still like, 7, 8 foot tall in the dreams. And they had these beautiful, like almost like a sword holders that they were holding of like ornate gold and leather. But they were peaceful, but they were just standing around a big table with the humans, just discussing the earth. And that I also found in this dream, I was with my dad in it, that if I wanted to, I could morph into one of them as well. So it was really different.
You mean you could morph into one of the Lyran people?
Yes, yes, and that was really amazing because I actually have an animal rescue here in Australia.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm a full-time volunteer for a rescue that I started 12 years ago, and the main thing that I find abandoned and neglected is cats.
You mentioned the cats. So are there other animals included in this rescue?
Yeah, we do cats, dogs, poultry, and horses.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, and these are this is at your house?
Yeah, yeah, where I live, yes.
Okay. I'm just wondering if that might be a factor in the Yowie activity that you have there and the running on the roof and the Yowie inside the tree line, etc. I wonder if they're drawn to the animals.
They could be. They could be. It's hard to know. But when we go out camping, when I find them at my other spot, like we're a fairly long way away, we only take the dogs camping with us.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, nothing else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I believe they like animals. I mean, I don't believe, as I said, going back to the Yowie hunting groups, they seem to think that they come in, they steal all your animals. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I never have believed that. Yeah, that's just my view. I don't believe they're here to come in and take people's pets.
Right. Yeah. Not without reason at any rate. Going back to the light in the sky that you saw, I wanted to ask you, and forgive my ignorance, but how close are you to the I don't know exactly what it's called. The Southern Borealis. It's like the Australo Borealis or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't see it where we are. Like in Australia, Queensland, we're the north right state.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's the bottom. We're not near that.
That's what I thought. That was probably
Yeah, no.
far south of you.
I'd love to see it. I mean, I have Googled that beautiful thing so many times, and I'd love to be able to see it in my lifetime.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. But it sounds like that wasn't a factor.
No,
So what other things have you seen in the sky?
it's just usually where we are, lights that come up and they'll sit stationary, and then all of a sudden they'll either go left, right, up, down, or they'll just straight disappear. And not just at night. We've seen them in the daytime as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we've tried to video them off phones and that, which is absolutely useless around here. Or just sit and watch them. But sometimes, it's a few of us, not just one person, like a group of us witnessing it. But this doesn't surprise us anymore. I know it sounds silly, but it's not really exciting when you've seen it that much.
Well, that's an enviable position to be in for
Yeah, I'm used to it. Same as like hearing all the noises when we go camping. I got friends that are like, "Oh wow, it's so scary," but it's like, no, this is nothing.
right.
We enjoy it. I think where my husband and I are not from here, we've always felt that, so we don't fit in here.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it seems that there are certain individuals who are sensitive to certain kinds of experiences.
yeah.
And people who have dreams and encounters with beings and see UFOs. These also tend to be the people who also see Sasquatches and Yowies.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I do think it just comes down to your vibe and what you believe in. And obviously, they've got to protect themselves as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, see, like, I believe they have families and everything, and people are just like, what are you on about, and laugh at it. But I don't care if people laugh about it because I just don't believe that they're, ready to accept it. They just haven't evolved to that point.
There is another aspect to the question of hominids in Australia. There is also, from what I understand, a small type of being that people experience in Australia. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I know about the smaller ones over here. They call them the gingitta.
Gingitta.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Have you encountered them?
I don't think so. The closest thing I think to a small one is probably the one I told you about when I was 11 years old. That wasn't big. But the ones that we've felt around us now, the ground shaking ones that can push down a tree, they're big.
Oh, yeah. Those are not the little ones.
They're big. No, they're big. And even the structures, like my husband always goes walking when we're away. And how do you explain the structures you find? Like where they cross the trees over, it's almost like they kind of knock them, like, don't they, on the path? It's bizarre. And another thing I probably didn't mention is, there's the stones. He went one time, took us on a big walk, where we found this most bizarre stone mound. It was like someone had placed all these rocks and made a grave, but it was huge.
Wow.
In the middle of absolute nowhere. And after we'd been there, that night is when we got the digital sounds.
Interesting.
I reckon that was a how about you don't go back there again. So, yeah. Oh, that's another thing I didn't mention. Our dog, he's a big mastiff. He was absolutely terrified.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he went from barking and patrolling the camp to that night with those digital sounds to yelping like a little tiny baby trying to get in the camp with us. And that's not like him.
Right. You said he's a mastiff?
Yeah, big, tough guard dog. He was reduced to a crying puppy, a whimpering puppy.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that incredible? Wow.
Yeah, it is when you hear him bark, 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 and then
Right.
So, yeah, I forgot about that. My husband just mentioned it, and I kept saying to him, I think that where we've gone walking, we maybe shouldn't have.
Yeah, that is probably a safe bet. They certainly have their ways of deterring us. So, As for actual visual sightings, you've had at least one visual sighting. Did you have any other visual sightings aside from that?
No, to me lately, it's all been just the noise beside me.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I've only ever had the one visual when I was very young.
And I just wanted to ask, like, if you were to compare that, I'm sure you're familiar with the Patterson Gimlin film, right?
No, no.
Oh, it's that really famous Bigfoot film that was filmed in the '60s in right here in
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, it's walking, it's standing upright.
exactly, exactly. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to ask if you were to compare what you saw to the Patterson
yeah,
Gimlin film,
definitely.
eh,
Yeah, spot on.
spot on? Huh,
Spot on, definitely. I don't know how people couldn't believe that. Yeah, spot on.
right. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. The color and everything.
Well, that's interesting. I feel very strongly, and I'm certainly not the only one, that the Yowie and the Sasquatch are one and the same type of being, whatever that happens to
Oh,
be.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know people that have seen the smaller ones, the gin jitter, and have described them as dancing around their campsite while they were sleeping. So there's a lot of people that have had a lot of experiences, but most people just don't want to speak out because they get ridiculed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yep. It's an all too unfortunate and all too familiar occurrence. But I think people are opening up more and more to this type of thing, at least here in the States. I mean, do you think people are
Well, we're pretty naive to think we're the only people that occupy the place, hey?
exactly. Like throughout all of human history, we have shared the planet
Yeah.
with other hominin species. And
No, it's ridiculous.
yeah.
I researched my own blood type. That put me right down the rabbit hole. I'm a blood type that's not very common, and that was a real eye opener for me.
What's your blood type?
I'm an A negative.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, but researching that, yeah, that was really amazing.
What went along with this discovery of your blood type and the characteristics that go along with that?
Well, basically, that's some pretty heavy stuff, but I know a geneticist who's over in Germany, and he took me right back to Enlil and Enki and, the actual blood types, how this is pretty full on stuff, how the reptilians went with the people that they had created and created the negative blood types. I mean, still, scientists cannot they cannot work out how the negative blood types exist. The rhesus factor, as they call it. One of my sons is a zero negative, and researching him was he's the blood that his blood can be given to all other blood types. So it's pretty amazing stuff. But I mean, as I said, the deeper you dig, the more you can learn. And I was raised religiously, so it's been interesting. But I read a lot too. I like to learn and learn.
Oh, yes. Good. Good.
Yeah, so
And as for your blood type, you're connecting this to like an ancient Sumerian type of thing?
yeah, yeah. Well, the Sumerian Anunnaki, yeah.
Right.
The real things that happened and why they come here. And I mean, you can go so far back into they call them like the galactic wars and everything. And even the way the Bible was written, like these stories all come from somewhere. They've just changed and changed and changed, and same as people say, oh, Jesus, was he real? And I said, I believe he was real, but I don't believe he was from here. No, definitely not. I think he was trying to, spread a message, and look what happens when they try. So I think it's sad. We've got a lot to learn.
Well, I do agree with you on that. We have plenty to learn.
Yes, yes, that's what I always say.
Do you have any more sightings that we haven't discussed, like in terms of what you've seen in the sky?
Not really what we've seen in the sky, but as I said, I have other friends who have had other experiences. I even know a lady, and this is a really full-on story, who believes one night she was in a bad situation, that one of them took her from something happening in a forest and saved her life. And that was something that nobody ever believed from her, which was really sad. She was laughed at for that.
Wait, you're saying was this a Yowie that saved her life?
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yep,
Oh,
yeah,
excellent.
yeah, 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 yeah.
What did the Yowie do?
Apparently picked her up and took her away from a bad group of men in a very, 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 very heavily wooded area where she never would have got out of.
Wow.
Yeah, nobody ever wanted to discuss it.
I wonder. So you know this woman, correct? Are you
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. And the funniest part about that is her dad was actually known as one of these Yowie researchers back in the day. Apparently, he has photos of, one that they apparently found years and years ago in New South Wales in a place called the Blue Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many stories. There really is.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I
Yeah, particularly in Australia. But if you can ever come here, you'd probably have a ball.
Yeah. Oh, I would love it. That would be like a dream come true. I would love to check out
Yeah.
all the areas you're talking about.
Well, you're always welcome to come over and stay here for nothing. And I don't even know how people can go anywhere though during this COVID. So
Yeah, that creates an obstacle. But, if I
yeah,
if I can if I can get my way to Australia, I'm gonna take you up on that for sure.
yeah, yeah, for sure. No, you're always welcome. But yeah, we're in lockdown here ourselves. I didn't even know about it because I don't watch the news.
Right. Oh, you're actually
But
in lockdown right now.
yeah, right now, in 5 minutes, we're in lockdown at 4 p.m. in Australia. And the army has been deployed in the state under us. Like it's crazy here.
No kidding. So you have a
Yeah,
curfew and lockdown and all
yeah,
that.
it's crazy. It's horrible.
Are the cases increasing? The cases of COVID?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
apparently they are, but because I'm a bit of a hermit and I don't actually have TV channels, I only really use Facebook and Netflix. I miss out on all of this.
Right. Well, sometimes that's for the best.
Yeah, it is. Like I find it very negative, but every time I hear about it, I want to pack up and go back out to my Yowie friends and just stay out there. I really don't want to come home anymore.
My big fear is introducing COVID into the Sasquatch slash Yowie population.
Yeah,
I'm terrified of that happening.
I I believe they're fine. I believe they're on a density so far above us that they'll be okay.
I certainly hope that's the case.
Yeah, that's my opinion. I think us humans are just too low a density. Sometimes I'm ashamed to be one.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I really feel the same way. I mean, I'm embarrassed for
Yep,
people much of the time.
I am. That's why I prefer to hang out with animals and talk about aliens because not many people are interested, so that's good.
Yeah. Well, you've always got somebody to talk to in me, Miranda. If you ever
Yeah,
if you ever need
yeah,
somebody to
definitely.
Yeah, wow, excellent. I wanted to ask you, and I think this will be my last question because you got a ton of stuff going on, and you've been a huge trooper in sticking through all the stuff you've got going on to also participate in this conversation. So I really appreciate that. Uh,
Yep.
my question is, you know people who have encountered the small beings. So I just want to know what they look like. What did your friends tell you about the small beings and what they look like?
Different fur, gingery fur.
Hmm.
Gingery fur, very cheerful, chirpy, almost childlike in funny voices and noises, and mischievous, naughty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a place where I live on the Sunshine Coast where another person kept reported. He kept trying to climb this mountain, and everyone thought he was crazy because he said these little things keep coming out and throwing pebbles at him.
Mm-hmm.
Like they call them, yeah, the gin jitter. They call them the Aboriginals.
The Jinjita. Am I saying that correctly?
Gin jitter, yeah.
Jinjita.
I can, yeah, I can always ask, more people and get you more information.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you so much. Yes, please.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many stories, but as I said, people are afraid of the ridicule. I don't really care about what others think, so it doesn't matter to me.
Right. Well, good. Good for you. Yeah, if you can get other people's stories for me or send other people my way and all that
For
stuff.
sure.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
And do you have a page or anything that people can follow? Because that'd be amazing.
Yeah, actually, well, my podcast is called Type 471. So
Okay.
you can look for Type 471 wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts, or you can go to my website, Type
Or maybe
471.
you can send me that.
Absolutely, yes, I'll do that. So
All right.
it's type471.wordpress.com, and I will send you the link as well.
All right. Thank you. I've got all my horses here at the fence telling me to hurry up.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sticking with me despite all the stuff you have going on, Miranda. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
No, thank you. Thank you. And I'll see what other stories I can gather for you.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. And when you find those pictures, I want to see them.
Yeah, I will. I'll get onto that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miranda. Have a good one.
All right.
All right.
You too. Bye.
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 Miranda is clearly a very busy person, and I really appreciate her taking the time to speak with me. In the latter part of this episode, we'll be hearing from David, a self-proclaimed skeptic who nonetheless had a very disturbing encounter in Fort Bragg. David, I understand you've had a very interesting experience, and I really like that you tell me that you're a skeptic, because that tells me that you're not someone who's out looking to have this kind of experience, but a number of years ago you had an experience in Fort Bragg that you were telling me about. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Yeah, so I want to say roughly 15 years ago, I remember it might have been in like the 2005 area. I don't remember exactly. But I had a childhood friend that had moved to Fort Bragg, and I was out visiting him. And it's a small town, so pretty much we're just looking for. I mean, we're in a small town, but we're looking for things to do. We're young kids. 2005, I would have been about 21, 22 there, and not doing the math in my head. It's not too important. Basically, I heard about this abandoned haunted house, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm super into checking this place out, just to see what's up. And by and large, the house was exactly what I expected. It was abandoned for a number of years, windows broken out, floorboards missing, plants growing in through the walls. I don't know how long it had sat empty. Obviously, it had been a local hangout spot. There was graffiti all over the walls, beer cans all over the place, just a general state of disrepair where people would go and hang out. And throughout the house, there was really nothing that stood out as strange to me. I didn't get any bad feelings. I didn't get anything like that. But once we were done with the house, we decided to walk around the property. It was well after dark at this point. We're using flashlights. It was before the days of modern smartphones, or at least before I had access to one. So, we're using flashlights. I had a little tiny camera with me that I was taking photos, and exploring the property way off in the back, we found a shed, and it was a large shed, probably something that you could park two vehicles in lengthwise, like it was longer than it was wide, and the door was all the way at one end of it. So we enter the shed, and immediately the atmosphere changed. And as you said, I'm a skeptic. I wasn't out looking for this experience, but to me, it felt like the temperature dropped. All the hairs on my body started standing on end. They're actually standing on end. Just recounting this right now, that's how powerful this feeling was. And for that split second, as we first entered the shed and I swept with my flashlight, I had the distinct impression of a person, a human person, up in the rafters, like perching on the rafter, like almost on all fours, like he would have been like squatting down with his hands between his legs, and for that fraction of a second, it was like somebody was leering at me like a vulture or something, just lurking. And both my friend and I looked to the exact same spot at the exact same time. We both turned and we looked at the exact same area, and our flashlights showed nothing. And there was this general pervading sense of wrongness in the shed that I don't really have an answer for it. It was just that briefest of moments, you know. It was very, very quick, but the air was wrong. I don't know how to describe it. I did, like I said, I had my little digital camera with me, and because I had been taking pictures of the rest of the house, I snapped a few photos in there. None of the ones in the shed turned out. Every single one was blurry, out of focus, and yeah, it could be easily explained as it was dark. We're in flashlight. It's an older digital camera, but you know, in retrospect, all the photos that were inside the house in the exact same situations came out just fine. And I'm only bringing this up because that's something that I have heard is kind of a recurring theme with things that are of this nature. And I don't really have a description for if I saw anything, what it was, but it was 15 years ago, and it still gives me the chills talking about this, because that's the bottom line. Is the air was wrong, the energy was wrong, the feeling was wrong, everything about that shed was wrong. And that was the point where we had decided to leave. It was just kind of we didn't even explore it. We just kind of shined the flashlight around for a minute. We looked at each other and we're like, yeah, no, nothing here. And we start walking quietly back to the car. And about halfway there, my buddy just kind of casually, he's like, did you see anything in there? And I was like, no, did you? And we just kind of had that moment where we were looking at each other. It was like, no, I don't think so. But, you know, it just kind of stands out to me because we both looked at the same spot at the same time. He brought it up. I wasn't even going to bring it up because, you know, I'm sitting here thinking that, well, that's weird. That obviously there was nothing there. But I can't. The energy is what I just keep coming back to. I can't explain it. It wasn't right.
You've almost got the hairs standing up on the back of my neck. That's that's quite something. And there are a number of things actually about this that do come up again and again in these types of experiences. You mentioned the camera. Also, the temperature difference comes up again and again in these experiences. And the feeling, of course, of just wrongness, of some energy just not being right. That's something that comes up often as well. So you saw something, let's call it an entity, out of the corner of your eye for a split second. I know that you say you don't have much of a visual impression, but if you were to just focus on that fraction of a second, freeze it in your mind, what are all the things that you see there about this individual? Things that you're sure you saw and things that you're not sure you saw? Teeth?
Teeth. Absolutely. The grin, the mouth, the rictus that the face was pulled back in. Teeth is like, if we're just going with emotion, impression, feeling, teeth is what I saw. It was possibly a white male, middle-aged, average build, average everything, short hair, but just perched, like I said, nobody would be up in the rafters sitting like that, first of all, you know, because there's balance issues. It was just crouched down, like if you were standing and you drop down to your knees and you put your hands flat on the ground in between your legs, perched like a gargoyle almost. And it's the teeth that I remember is the most memorable feature.
That sounds pretty malevolent. The teeth, is this, you mentioned a grimace. Now, is this a smile or a distorted smile or a menacing smile or just,
Very menacing, like almost like ecstasy. The emotion, just the overpowering happiness, but not a good happiness, not a happiness that you or I would want to know. It was thrilled.
kind of a giddy malevolence, it sounds like.
Yeah, not something that I would choose if I had somebody walk up to me in a bar with the way that his face was pulled back like that. I wouldn't even say hello.
Oh no.
It was like something was grinning, like happy that we were there. And that's more than any feature on the face, more than any outfit, more than any physical description. It's the grin. That's what I saw.
Yeah. That is terrifying. I can understand why, even after all these years, it impacts you the way it does. That's something else. What indicated to you that this would have been perhaps a middle-aged male?
That's much less vivid in my memory. Like I said, if the flash is the smile and the grin. If I actually were to describe the person that I was seeing, are you familiar with a musical artist named Danny Elfman?
Oh yes.
He was in Oingo Boingo.
Yep.
Basically, like a lot of the stuff that guy does, but at that point in my life, I was not familiar with that person. But like, if you're asking for a general description, like that very drawn face, the way he has his mouth expressions in a lot of the music that he makes, very caricaturized almost. He's playing a character for sure. But like that sort of narrow, angular face. I got the impression that what I saw was a person who was older than I was, but not ancient, not anything like that. And it was. I'm kind of, like I said, drawing from years of memory, and what sticks in my mind is that flash freeze frame.
Right.
And that's what I'm pulling off of.
Right. And a lot of times impressions like this can be felt on many levels and not just visually. So, I mean, you may have had an impression that this had been a middle-aged male at some point, even though, I mean, maybe, there wasn't a lot of visual information conveying that. Maybe you just knew this and felt it on some level. Does that sound like it rings true?
That's plausible.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just that quick corner of my eye flash, and it was gone by the time I got my flashlight on it, whatever it was, if there was even anything there. It was that impression, and that's really all I'm going off of.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is quite an experience, and it was something that was experienced by two people. So, I mean, that right away lends it some credibility.
That's kind of why it stuck with me is because in the shed when we walked in, there were no words exchanged because we were talking, we were BSing, having a grand old time in the house, and for both of us that changed the second that we went into that shed off in the back of the property. It just everything changed, and we went quiet. We looked at each other and we left, and he's the one that brought it up because, as I mentioned previously, I wasn't even going to bring it up. And I don't know if he saw the same thing that I saw or if he saw anything, but the fact that he asked if I had seen something And then we never really discussed it. It was one of those things where at the time we just decided, you know what, it's time to go home. It's time to go.
I certainly don't blame you there. Yeah, that's pretty intense. Now, you mentioned to me another experience that was kind of unusual and that stood out in your mind. Could you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, sure, I can. And actually, this next story is earlier today. My dad asked what my plans were for the evening, and I said, "Oh, there's a gentleman who's doing a podcast about paranormal stuff." And he's like, "Oh, time you met the devil."
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, well, that's one of the two stories I told him.
Yeah.
So again, just for the sake of your podcast and the fact that you're recording, I would consider myself an agnostic. I don't necessarily believe in a higher power. I don't necessarily disbelieve it. I like things that are nice and rational and explainable. And I think a lot of modern science that I don't necessarily understand, maybe we'll understand it someday. You know, like if you think about what science can do right now, you can take genes from a jellyfish and make a cat glow in the dark. That would be wizardry technology and magic and dark magic to somebody 1,500 years ago. So that's why I try and frame everything in that we may not understand it right now, but maybe somebody will. But this is the second story. Is I was walking down the street in downtown Seattle, and a homeless man walked up to me. Again, average build. He wasn't like super scruffy. He was obviously outdoors. Just a random generic. I do remember this guy for sure. White male, about 5'9", 5'10", short hair, stubble, ratty clothes, and he walks up to me and he says, "Excuse me, sir. I don't mean to bother you. I'm not asking for money. I don't need anything from you. All I'm asking for is 2 minutes of your time." And in those 2 minutes that he talked to me, he explained completely unprompted how God or a higher power or a creator can exist in a logical, rational, scientific universe that has rules, that has laws, and there's not just creationism and things happen because somebody says they happened. And he explained it to me in a way that I said, you know what? Holy shit, that made sense. I jumped ahead of myself when he said, all I need is 2 minutes of your time. And I said, no problem. He introduced himself to me and he said, first, before I tell you anything, I need you to understand that I am the devil. I am Satan. I am Lucifer. I am the morning star. I am whatever you want to call me. And all I have is some things that I know that you need to know. And then he proceeded in his story to explain how God could exist. Not necessarily that he did. That's the important distinction. He explained how it was possible. And I said, wow, okay. Because the reason this story sticks with me is I've known religious people all my life, and while I don't discount them for their faith and I don't judge them for that, nobody has ever managed to meet my one requirement that internally I don't tell people up front when I'm debating religion or theology or faith or anything like that, because I don't want them to try and intentionally steer me in a direction. It's just a checkbox in the back of my mind. And my requirement was that all I'm looking for in a theological debate is for somebody to explain to me, rather than just say, oh, you need faith. I don't need proof. That's the difference. I don't need proof that a higher power exists. I need the plausibility. I need somebody to explain to me in a way that I'm like, all right, you know what? That holds weight with the way that I see the world and existence as we're in. And the only person in my life that has ever done that, more importantly, done that unprompted in a random street side encounter, introduced himself to me as the devil. And that kind of bothers me because it raises that question of what if. And it's, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I do try and be a good person, but it's the what if the stories and the Bible and all that, maybe they're not exactly 100% literal true as it is written in the book of God, as people know it, but what if there's enough of it to have some substance to it? And the only person who made me go like, all right, you know what, that made sense, told me up front that he was the devil and he just needed me to know, and that's all he needed.
Interesting. Well, can I take a shot at it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we know that existence exists because we exist, and as such, existence must exist infinitely. There is not a place where existence exists and then existence ends. Existence, whatever it is, exists infinitely. And we know that free will exists because we have free will. We know that consciousness exists because we have consciousness. And I feel that if one carries through the logical train of thought to its natural conclusion without making assumptions, one must conclude that infinity, existence, embodies all possibility. In other words, if the possibility of consciousness exists, then existence itself must be conscious. If the possibility of free will exists, then infinity, existence, must have free will. So infinity, existence itself, is a conscious individual with free will that embodies infinite possibility. Now, if you imagine existence itself as an individual, then you can imagine how existence, being self-aware, would desire to make others like it. So imagine existence creating other individuals such as itself, and then creating a nursery in which these individuals such as itself may develop as individuals. And I feel very much that the material universe is a nursery for fledgling consciousness. So we enter this physical experience to become like this infinite existence, this infinite individual that is existence that we call God. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, it is slightly different from the way that I see it and the way that it was explained to me, but, you know, I don't necessarily take issue with the statement that you just made.
Right, and I don't intend this to be an all-encompassing explanation of God. I just mean that it is a possible way, it is one possible way in which in which a person may begin to become aware along these lines.
Absolutely. The possibility is there, yes.
Right. Well, this has been incredibly interesting, David. I appreciate you reaching out to me with these experiences of yours.
Yeah, no problem. Really, it was the teeth story. The hair went up, and I was like, yeah, I got a story for you.
And I loved hearing it, and I know everybody else is going to love hearing it as well. David, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, no problem.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
Look for Type 471 wherever you prefer to get your podcasts, and be sure to follow Type 471. Also, visit type471.wordpress.com to access full episodes, to subscribe to be notified of new episodes, and to report your experiences to me. Just visit the Report Your Experience page. Finally, please check out my YouTube channel. Look for the Type 471 Podcast YouTube channel to see all images associated with each episode. You can also report your paranormal or unexplained experiences to me through my YouTube channel. Please be sure to subscribe to Type 471 Podcast on YouTube. I'm Sam Kitchen. Thanks for listening to Type 471.